Pope Francis met with Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas on Saturday for the first time since the Holy See recognized the state of Palestine in a treaty concluded on Wednesday. The Vatican's recent treaty makes a more formal recognition of the areas controlled by the Palestinian Authority and covers the Church's activities in those areas.
It is fair to say the words Vatican and controversy have long been associated with one another, and the current Pope, Francis, already has a solid reputation as one who will use his pulpit to face down difficult issues, not caring what anyone else thinks of his methods. Taking on the seemingly never-ending conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, however, that may have caught plenty of people off guard. A simple phrase has led a new cauldron of controversy, one that may have been taken completely out of context. Then again, it may have been just what the pontiff desired. Our guests, pastor for the Holy Family Church in New York City, seen across the broadcast screens and radio, providing some insight into matters such as this. Welcome Reverend Gerald E. Murray, and also Harvard law professor, noted jurist, and author of Terror Tunnels, the case for Israel's just war against Hamas, Alan Dershowitz. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Father, let's go ahead and look at exactly what the Pope said, because immediately it came out in the media that he had called Abbas an angel of peace, but he spoke in Italian, and he could have said, "You are," or "May you be." Have we had a clarification on exactly what he said?
Well, we did. The New York Times had a very good story yesterday in which they quoted La Stampa and La Repubblica, two major newspapers in Italy, which said the Pope said to Abbas, "May you be an angel of peace." And this was in the context of handing him a medallion which contained an image of an angel of peace. So the message obviously was not talking about the history of Abbas's leadership, but rather looking ahead to the future. What does the Pope expect of this man? And I note that the spokesman for the Israeli Foreign Ministry, Emmanuel Nachshon, said that he was satisfied with what the Pope says, "May you be," not that he was endorsing any sort of endorsement of him as an angel of peace.
Father, is it not fair to say that the Pope sees himself as somebody who wants to make some change, who sees himself at a nexus in history where he believes that if he gets involved in these things, which normally a Pope would not, he wants to be the peacemaker and is willing to take these chances?
It is. As you recall, he visited the Holy Land last year. He then invited the presidents of both Israel and the Palestinian Authority to come to Rome to talk and to pray. He's made a lot of efforts to hopefully break the deadlock, which is a political matter, of course, but he says the solution is not simply political. It's got to be prayer and a common desire to serve God.
Alan, is it not fair to say that it's good to see someone at least trying to do something to bring some peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians?
Well, this is a great Pope. He's been a terrific friend of the Jewish people, both when he was in South America and since he became the Pope. And you're not going to get me to say anything critical of this Pope. He's been just fantastic. And he's, of course, not the first Pope to try to become involved in the Palestinian issue. Previous popes have invited even Yasser Arafat to the Vatican. Yasser Arafat had blood on his hands. Look, the job of the Pope is to look to the future and to inspire people and to try to make them into angels of peace. Abbas is certainly not an angel of peace. He honors terrorists. He names parks after terrorists. The Palestinian Authority promotes advocacy of terrorism in their schools and their textbooks. Christians have had a very, very hard time in Gaza and in the West Bank. But I think we all hope Abbas will be a prince of peace. I hope Netanyahu will be a king of peace, an angel of peace. Both of them. We need them to try a little bit harder to bring peace about. So I admire the Pope for what he said, and I don't think we should make a big deal out of a grammatical difference that somebody whose second language, not certainly his first language is not Italian, may have said. I doubt that he declared him in the past to be a prince of peace. I'm sure he meant to say that this is an aspiration and a hope, and I hope he's right.
Alan, knowing full well that you have a lot of respect for the Pope, and I'll be very frank about it, and so do I, for what he is doing as well. But you even said that Abbas has blood on his hands. Many people still feel that way. Pro-Israeli certainly do. And a number of people that I've spoken with in the last 24 hours who are pro-Israeli, they're offended by this. They say that even this Pope, even shaking this man's hand, even trying to call him an angel of peace, is indeed something that smacks in the face of Israel itself. How would you then address those people who are insulted and just don't see any reason for the Pope to even bother with a guy like Abbas?
I disagree with that. I think Abbas is a potential partner for peace. I think I might have joined them in criticizing folks who welcomed and hugged Yasser Arafat. Look, the handshake, you're covered with the velvet glove of diplomacy when you're a pope or when you're a president. I myself would not shake hands with Yasser Arafat when I was offered an opportunity to do so, but I certainly supported Rabin's shaking hands with him because he was the prime minister and he wore the glove of diplomacy. I'm just a private citizen, and I don't have to shake hands with people who I believe have, the blood of Americans, the blood of Israelis, the blood of many people on their hands. The Pope does, and I admire the Pope for this. I'm not going to criticize him, and I am critical of those people who claim to be insulted by this. There's room for improvement on all sides in the quest for peace in the Middle East, and if the Pope can help bring about some degree of peace through prayer, through mediation, through aspiration, God bless him. Let him do it. God, I said, God bless the Pope. But I mean it.
You did, and don't worry about it. I'm sure that if the Pope sees you or hears you from now on, he'll go, God bless you too, Alan.
I'll be delighted. I'll be delighted.
It's just the way he does it. Father Murray, we have a Vatican here that is becoming more political than ever. Is this a good thing?
Well, the Vatican by nature has to be political because it's involved in the church in many different states. They do need to insert themselves in situations where the interests of the church and the interests of humanity are at risk. The Pope has spoken very clearly about we need to stop Boko Haram, we need to stop ISIS, we need to do everything we can, as Professor Dershowitz said, to promote any hope of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. So I don't think it's wrong. Now, the Pope's solution is not merely political, though. He's calling people to say, if you really believe in God, then do God's will. Don't engage in murderous acts. And the Pope deplores all murderous acts. He's not endorsing any of that.
And look, just to add to something,
Please.
There were some Jews who were critical of Pope Pius XII for not being political enough, for not condemning Hitler. It's a mixed picture, obviously, and there are two sides of that issue. But you can't, on the one hand, if you're not a non-Catholic like myself, demand that the Pope be political when we want him to be political, and then criticize him for being political when we prefer him not to be political. First of all, this is largely an issue for Catholics. I don't think we really have the right or the standing to tell the Pope what to say or what to do. We are entitled, if he gets into politics, to express views about his politics, but as a religious leader of a flock of many, 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 millions of people, he's entitled to decide how to conduct his leadership. And I praise this Pope. I think he's doing a great job on behalf of the poor, on behalf of the downtrodden. He is a wonderful, wonderful Pope. I think many
Let me do this, and with 30 seconds left, Father Murray, is it at the point right now, to those of you in the Catholic faith, you're not surprised at anything this Pope does or says?
This is a Pope of surprises, but he said that he wants to be a Pope of surprises because he said God is a God of surprises. If you think you know what's going to happen tomorrow or what people are capable of doing, you're making a mistake. God's grace is more powerful than human projections.
Let's put it this way. If somebody can get through to Mahmoud Abbas and some of the other members of the Palestinian Authority and the Israelis, and everybody can get together and hopefully try to make some sort of a lasting peace, it's a good thing. It doesn't make a difference who he, she is and what religion they're with. But as Alan said, I think God bless the Pope. Maybe that puts it the best way. Father Murray.
Amen.
Amen to that.
There you go. Father Murray, thank you so much for your time. Alan Dershowitz, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much.
My best. Thanks.
All right, we'll continue to follow this story because obviously, as we've said it before, and it bears saying once again, this Pope always surprises people no matter what he does. What's next for His Holiness? Stay with us. MidPoint continues.